hi. And I know that kind of like sounded like, you know that one scene from The Dark Knight when Joker comes in to go see Two-Face and he's just like dressed as a nurse and he's like, hi. I feel like you feel like Two-Face right now.
Hi.
So, yeah, I said that we come back from hiatus relatively soon. And I know it's been, how long has it been? Almost a year since we posted on this channel. And you probably saw from the title of this video that Games and Groceries is not coming back. And I want to explain why, and it's for good reasons. It's not that we're giving up on the whole dream altogether. It's just that when me and Liz were playing, Liz is right there, by the way. There she is. You see her hand. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about this because the more and more Liz and I actually talked about bringing Games and Groceries back, the more stress it put on our lives, really. And this whole video is unscripted, by the way. And I just want to give an explanation. But, and by the way, we're going to extract the audio from this and just put it on audio versions of the podcast in case you only listen to Games and Groceries on audio. We can do that, right? Okay, awesome. She edits, I don't. But yeah, I just wanted to give like a little bit of insight there. It just caused this stress, really, to bring Games Groceries back. And you know, the more we thought about it, the more we tried to plan it, the more we're just thinking like how we can make it different and what kind of guests we can bring on. I'm trying to think of different segments we can bring in, and it just, you know, after a few months, we're just like thinking, I don't know, it's just not something we really want to do right now, and it's just not something we want to pursue at this time. So I just, you know, me and Liz discussed this, and we're just thinking like, you know, maybe this is just the time to end Games Groceries, for forever, I guess. I don't know. Maybe we'll come back. I'm promising that. But instead of just saying that, you know, Games Groceries is over, get over it, I want to make the last video that goes on this channel, a little bit more on the useful side. If you're thinking about just not doing the artistic pursuit that you're currently doing, not necessarily quitting, but you're just kind of thinking about it, I want to take you through some chapters in this video, just like what my thought process is and how we came to this conclusion, why we think it's a good end for it. And maybe you can take this video as well and, you know, I don't know, use it whatever you want it to be. I don't know. I'm not your dad. You know, I just wanted to do an unscripted video of, you know, our thought process. And I'm sorry if this comes to be like, oh, well, I wanted Games Groceries back. Why aren't you bringing it back? And it's just like, I don't know. I think if we did another season, you would kind of see, you know, a lack of desire to do it. And I think it will be evident as we did it. And, you know, without further ado, you know what? I can explain all I want here. It's just, I just wanted to make this interesting. Like, we're not doing Games and Groceries anymore. We're doing other things, and, you know, I just want to take you through it. So, blah, blah, blah. Let me just get into the first chapter. So, chapter 1, go. All right, so I'm going to be upfront with you, and you probably already see it already, like as you're seeing like the chapters and all that. This might be the longest chapter just because I want to give you some background if you haven't already known, because we already talked about it on Games and Groceries. But why did we even start Games and Groceries in the first place? And I titled this chapter, Chapter 1, Creative Control, just because that's what we needed it to be at the time. When we started Games and Groceries back in 2017, we were really part of a toxic church environment. You know, I was a youth pastor there. None of my ideas were really getting through. I was kind of being pushed down and just saying like, you need to follow orders. And it was a toxic church environment. And both me and Liz are creative people. and we wanted something to have creative control because we wanted to put all of our efforts into youth ministry, and we just weren't allowed to do that. Essentially, we were stuck in this place of just like we needed a creative outlet to do something. And at the time I was, listening to a lot of gaming podcasts, and I still am, by the way, but I just thought, oh, why don't we just well, first of all, I tried to design my own game, and that just plummeted real quick. I just nope, didn't want to do it. Then we thought about, why don't we do a gaming podcast together? And Games Groceries just became that thing that we did together to do something creative. She was good at editing. She's great at editing. Liz is, as she's editing this video right now. And I was really in tune with the games industry, and I really wanted to put my voice out there. And, it was just something for us to do in the meantime, for us to have some sort of creative control. And Games Groceries did that for us. And it was like the only thing that allowed us to be creatives at that time. And you'll see in later videos, like in the same time as I was being a youth pastor, we started to add things to the Games Groceries channel, like, oh man, we can do this, we can do that, like besides the podcast, we did let's plays, we did I think we did conversational videos, or that came after I was a youth pastor, but there was other things we added to the channel. We're just there was segments that we added, there was just different elements, and we just became really in tune with our creative side just because of Games and Groceries. Now,
why not bring it back then, Adam? If it gives you creative control, why don't you bring it back?
Is because now, since leaving that church in November 2019, yes, right before the pandemic, go figure, I don't know, but right before, since that time, we found other avenues of creativity that Games Groceries fit that mold for us. But now we lived, I don't want to say essentially a free life. I don't want to say that we were part of a cult, because we weren't. It was just a toxic place to work in, and for both me and Liz didn't even work there. Okay, I won't even go down that rabbit hole here, but then we found out that we okay, we can do the thing that we want to do, so we just found other avenues of creativity. I got back into music. It's the music. Liz started to do arts and crafts. Right now, she's doing embroidery, so that's awesome. And we're doing two other things right now. We started What's the Biz, our other podcast where we just talk. It's essentially our diary into a podcast, and me and Liz love doing that. And we're also doing eVault, which is our secondary channel where I do commentary videos about the video game industry, and Liz edits them really well. So that's an avenue of creativity. I want to pursue other avenues of creativity, and Games and Groceries no longer fits that mold of what we want to do creatively, because we have so many different paths. And like I said, with Liz wanting to do embroidery, she wants to register herself to do like a craft fair, right? And she needs more time to do that. And I want to pursue more music, and we want to do more eVault videos. And What's the Biz also takes up a little bit of time. The more we thought about bringing back Games and Groceries, the more we realized that Games Groceries just doesn't fit our life right now. And it did in first, but now it doesn't. Like it's now no longer what we need in our life in terms of creative control. It was it for the time being, but now we found so many other paths of creativity that trying to fit in Games and Groceries is just such a task in production. And we talked about it in a hiatus episode, the last episode we did of Games and Groceries. We talked about how much time it takes up in our week, and we're just thinking that's not something we want to do, because we could use that time for other avenues. Like I said, Liz can do more embroidery, I can do more music, and I promise I'll release something when I have something available. Stop asking me. But that's just it, is that at the time we started Games Groceries to have some sort of creative control, and it did that. It's if it wasn't for Games and Groceries, I think we would have just stuck around to the toxic church. We would have just, accepted how it is. And that's that. And we wouldn't have been creatives anymore. We have given up that life. We would have just given up our creative paths and creative hearts and creative minds. We would have just said, it's not worth it. But Games Groceries was there for us to give us some sort of creative control. And now we've just kind of spread our wings and pursued other paths of creativity. And I know I've keep going around in circles, but that's just that, is that Games Groceries doesn't really fit us creatively anymore. And I think it's time for us to just let that part go and pursue our other paths of creativity. I'm very proud of Liz right now for doing all of her embroidery stuff. It's really awesome, and I hope she sells out at the craft fair. And I'm proud of her for pursuing that. I could never do it. I don't have the patience for that. I might stick myself with a needle every single time because I am impatient and I'm a child. But that's the first thing, and I wanted to talk about that. It's just not part of us anymore. It's not something we want to pursue anymore. And it takes up so much time that it's just kind of like, do we want to take that time? I don't know. It's not, again, I'm not scripted here. So I'm probably just going to end chapter 1 there, that it's not for us creatively anymore. And it's how we started, but it's time for it to end because there's other things that we want to do and other things we want to show you, especially with Evault, our other channel, or What's the Biz. It's another podcast, which I'm going to talk about in chapter 2, What's the Biz. But without further ado, why don't we just get into that? Let's talk about the second chapter that I have for you. So I titled chapter 2, making friends along the way. By the way, the only reason why I'm saying chapter titles is for the audio listeners. So if they do listen to our audio, then then they know. But there's so many people that we met along the way, and so many really awesome minds that we got to talk to. And I can't really fathom just talking to more right now. And it's not to say that I don't want to meet anybody new at all. It's just more I'm satisfied with the people we did talk to. I'm happy with how many people we've met and how many friendships I've built. Talking about just the friendships I built. I mean, who would have ever thought that some dude who was being a youth pastor in New York, now I'm in North Dakota, wow, just some dude in New York was gonna do a Life is Strange podcast with my friend Adnan in England, right? That's the kind of friendship I made through Games and Groceries. I made a tight friendship with Andrew Orsi. If you listen to What's the Biz, or you are a fan of this show that Andrew Orsi has been on for a long while, we are friends with somebody in Germany, Nikki from Germany. We talk, and she did what do you call live tweets of What's the Biz. There's just so many friendships that I'm going to be forgetting here because there's just so freaking many. Travis from Rainbow Road podcast. I don't know, it's so much pressure. I'm trying to remember everybody, but that's the thing, we made tight friendships. Game Simp, I always talk with him, and he's a cool dude. And Brian McGinnis, Dan from Greatest Story Ever. But then there's also other cool minds like Dan Hutton, who voiced Kate Marsh from Life is Strange, that I can't believe I got to talk to. And even more so, when I said in the first chapter I was listening to a lot of gaming podcasts, my favorite gaming podcast of all time, and I still listen to them to this day, is Cheap Ass Gamer, CAGcast, if you will. It was just really cool that not only through Games and Groceries, well, not through, but gave me the encouragement to go meet them. But besides the point, I got to meet my favorite podcast of all time. I got to meet them in real life, and not only that, but Cheapy D and Wombat came on Games and Groceries, and that was just so cool to me. That whoa, these are essentially my heroes in terms of the podcast platform, and they actually took time to come on the show and just have a good time. And I was just like, whoa, I was floored by that. But then I met really cool people that I would have ever talked to or met, like Nick DiPaolo, who is designing his own game and was featured at E3, and his composer, it's a composer from Australia, Volt Supreme, that we got to talk to and really delve into his mind about music. And RGT 85, I got to meet Mr. Matty Plays. I don't know, and I genuinely appreciate everybody that came on the show. Adding guests to the show came much later on Games and Groceries, and I didn't think that we would add like a guest segment. And I don't know what started. I think I just wanted one of my friends, Josh, to come on the show. I'm like, oh, that'd be fun to have guests on the show. That'd be cool. And through that, we just made so many tight friendships with people that I never would have thought I would have made friends with. And we're still talking to this day. And I genuinely think that they are my close friends. And then other people that, you know, I wouldn't say me and RGT85 are like tight homies, or, you know, me and Cheapy are like brothers, you know, but it was still cool that like I got to talk to them and I got to like hear what they had to say about different things. But like, the other part of it is that like I made these friendships, but it also became, you know, a little bit weird that I was trying to schedule these friendships, you know, emailing and like asking like, oh, when can you have time to do this? And when can you have time to like come on Games and Groceries? Oh, we can schedule this, we can schedule that. You know, I felt horrible doing that, sending out all these emails that I was just like, oh man, I can work with your schedule, and a lot of people agreed to do it because I know how to send a good email. But, you know, I just didn't want to do that anymore. And that's another thing I don't want to pursue right now, is writing all these emails and treating friendships like they're a business transaction, you know, when it's not. I don't know why I said it like that. You know, I don't know. I'm just very happy with who we got to talk to. And personally for me, I'm satisfied. And I know I said this in the first point, but I'm satisfied with the people that we did talk to. And I'm okay if, you know, that never happens again. But on the flip side, here's the thing, and I said on chapter 1, you know, what's the biz? It's our other podcast. The other reason why I think we're gonna end Games and Groceries is because we're gonna take What's the Biz more seriously in terms of guest appearances. And I know I just said that, but like, and that's the thing. When we were talking about the Games and Groceries relaunch, we wanted to be more like What's the Biz. We wanted to get into people's lives and just like talk to them like people, rather than like a scripted kind of discussion about the video game industry. And Liz and I were talking. I'm like, well, then if we wanted to be like What's the Biz, why don't we use What's the Biz to actually do it? You know, and it gives us more of a deep dive into other people. We don't have to talk about, you know, only video games, because Games and Groceries is a video game podcast, but we can talk to more people outside of the video game industry. I would love to talk to Shuriken Shannon, one of my favorite skaters of all time. I would like to talk to, like, well, we're going to like some drag shows out here in North Dakota, and I would love to like talk to somebody who is into drag and like what that means, and just like really dive deep into that. They're just other people that I would like to discuss with and get their, like, pick their minds a little bit. And What's the Biz is a perfect platform to do just that. Make some friendships, but actually talk to them like people, rather than kind of like, oh, let's sit down and let's talk about your professionalism, blah, 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 about video games, blah, 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 blah. But why don't we actually do it with What's the Biz? You know, it's just that avenue of like what we enjoy. It's audio only, so we don't have to like get all the lights set up for it. We can just like sit down, do a Zoom call, talk to this person. There's no production involved, and it's just more authentic in that way. So, I mean, that's just it. I would like to make friendships in a more authentic fashion, rather than like a scripted, like, let's sit down and do this, you know. But I enjoy the friends we made along the way. I appreciate everybody who took a part in Games of Groceries. And I know this is already a long video. I'm sorry, but you know, I just want to say, like, I appreciate what Games of Groceries did, and I appreciate the little people that took, you know, and when I say not little, but like tiny, but like this, we're not even at 200 subscribers right now. Like, let's be real here. But the amount of people that actually took time and got involved in Games and Groceries, whether being a guest or just a listener, twofer. I forgot twofer. That's what I mean. There's so much pressure. But, you know, like, that's the thing. Is that, like, Mike Fury. Okay, so I gotta stop. Stop it. It's like, if you were involved in Games and Groceries, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being a part of it. You mean more to me than I think you actually understand. Even if I haven't talked to you in a long time, your involvement, whether being a listener, commenter, guest, it doesn't matter. Your involvement with Games and Groceries means so much to me and Liz, and I hope you know that. Message me and like call me out for it, but I appreciate you. Like, I appreciate you for being involved in it, and I consider you a close friend for being a part of that. So I'm just gonna like close out with a concluding chapter here. And like I said, like, it's just not part of our creative control anymore. It's just not something we want to pursue creatively anymore. I appreciate all the friends that we made, and I'm okay that's all who we talked about, you know, in Games and Groceries. I just kind of want to close things out with a final chapter here about, again, I appreciate everybody here, and I appreciate what Games and Groceries did, and that's what I'll end on here. So chapter 3 is called Never Forgotten because Games and Groceries will never be forgotten by us, ever. I mean, it did so much for us in the past, 3 years, honestly. So yeah, we started it summer of 2017. I should have looked this up before I did this, but it's unscripted, whatever. Yeah, like the past however many years that it came out to be, and I appreciate it for it. And when I say not forgotten also is that we're not going to take down the YouTube channel. We're not going to get rid of all of the audio files. They're going to stay on. Games Groceries YouTube channel will stay put. Like, it's going to be here in case you want to go into the backlog and see all the videos and all the great interviews that we did, and seeing what other people think about other things. And that was my goal, is just to pick the minds of these people. And the Games Groceries Twitter account, Instagram, it's going to stay on. Am I going to be active on it? Probably not. I don't know. All of these things are going to stay on because we're not forgetting Games and Groceries. It's not going to be just erased. I want it to be remembered. I want it to stay up there. And again, because we interviewed so many great people, especially all the conversations we had with Andrew Orsi, it's just a treat and a half. But like I said, it's just never forgotten because Games and Groceries did everything for us, since 2017. I don't want to ever forget that if it wasn't for Games and Groceries, we would have never pursued creative paths at all. It's not to say that I'm a artiste by trade, because I work in the food industry and Liz works in insurance or something. She told me, and I still don't understand to this day, but insurance of some sort. I don't know. That's just it. It's that we're not artists by trade, but on our free time as a couple, we do things creatively, and it's because of Games and Groceries that did just that. And I don't think we need to continue Games and Groceries to pursue artistic talents. We don't need Games Groceries to exist in that way, but we can always just remember that, hey, that's something we did that kind of sparked us in a creative mind. When I say to you that it was a dark time in our lives at this toxic church before Games and Groceries, I mean, listen to the earlier episodes. We are just not in the right state of mind. We're just kind of bitter and just well, we can talk about this. We're not as energetic as we usually are in later Games and Groceries videos. You can listen to it in the earlier episodes, and I'm telling you right now that if it wasn't for Games and Groceries to spark that creativity back in us, yeah, we would have just stayed miserable. And I think it's important to remember that if you are about to quit or move on from a creative path that you're doing or currently doing, and you're just not feeling it anymore, and you want to pursue something else, it's not bad to just not forget where that was in your life, and just appreciate it for what it did for you in your life. And we appreciate what Games Groceries was and still is. It's still a part of our lives, and the people involved are still part of our lives. We're still friends with them, and I don't want to ever forget that, and I don't want you to forget that if you were a fan from day one or day 80. I don't know, day 800. I'm not counting days anymore, dude. It's pandemic days. Who counts days anymore? Peasant. That's just it, is that like Games Groceries is never going to be forgotten. We're never going to like ignore it or take down any channels. Games Groceries will never be forgotten, but we want to move on to other things, and it doesn't fit that time anymore. I'm starting to say, but again, I want to give you different things to look at. Once again, like what we're doing actively is What's the Biz. I'm going to leave a link down below. We're doing that sort of podcast. We might kind of revamp it to be still audio only. Just don't worry about that. But kind of like bring on guests and just talk to them about different things in their life. You can listen back, and it's just an audio diary of our thoughts. That's pretty much what it is. And eVaults, like we're doing eVault. We're doing those videos. But Liz is killing it with eVault, like editing those videos. It's great. It's fantastic. Me jabbering my jaw, that's nothing, but like the editing involved in that, it's so well produced that it's an artistic path that Liz wants to pursue. So What's the Biz, eVault, I'll leave those links down below. I'm working on music, more of just like music scores, not like poppy music. I guess I want to like make a score for something, and I just want to like put that on YouTube somewhere. You might not even know it's me, because I don't want you to think like, oh, it's Adam from Games of Groceries. I might put it out just anonymously. I can say that word. And of course, Liz is doing embroidery, so you're going to see pictures of the craft fair that she goes in. But just to say that Games of Groceries sparked all of this. It started that fire in us. It started everything for us. Whether we make it as artists or if it's just our hobby, we will always look back on Games of Groceries being the starter for that, right? The kindle to the fire that it is. And I don't want you to forget it either. I don't want you to think that we'll ever forget you either. It's just time for us to move on. Okay, so the battery's about to run out, so I'll just end the video here. But thank you for listening. Thank you for watching this. Sorry to end it like this, but it's just time for us to move on. And thank you again. But be sure to check out our other projects. But for the foreseeable future, Games Groceries it's just not happening. And I don't know, accept it. I don't know. Love you still, but I gotta go. The battery's about to die. So keep calm and carry on. We'll see you in our other projects, but thanks again for being a part of this, and hope to see you within our other channels. See you later.